if I hadn't done I did, things would have been much worse. In fact, people ask me, Mr. President, why did you call in the army? I mean, what choice did I have? I mean, it would have been very reckless of me in the face of the kind of harm people are going through, the 19 lives that were already lost, in the face of a burning Chief Justice office, Parliament, and the rest of it. I mean, it would have been very reckless of me not to mobilize every arm of government and every arm of our security agencies to protect the country and to protect lives.
You acted as commander-in-chief. You also acted as president, head of government, and the person who took the sword and promised to protect the people of Kenya. You chair the National Security Council, which brings in the head of the police, the head of the intelligence, the head of the military, and cabinet secretaries in those dockets. Did you have information prior to Tuesday that there was going to be infiltration of the peaceful demonstrations by the criminal elements that you talked about more than once? And if you did, what did you do about it?
We had information, and that is why we prepared in the manner in which we did. If we hadn't prepared in the manner in which we did, we would not be counting 19. We would be counting different numbers.
Okay.
And I am telling you that the level of mobilization by criminals was heavy. In fact, many of the peaceful protesters, many of the young people, very well-meaning young people, left the town by 10, maybe 11, because they realized, and in fact you could hear them in their zeal. They were saying, guys, this is not our group. Let us go. Let us leave. You could hear them. It was in public domain that the peaceful demonstrators all of a sudden realized that the whole thing had metamorphosed into criminality.
So the criminal elements that basically hijacked. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it is Sunday. Mr. President, how many people are in custody on account of this? Those who you said they conducted treasonous activities, they were criminal elements.
You will see them in court tomorrow.
How many people are in custody?
You will see them in court tomorrow. The police know what I have a ballpark brief by the police that they have enough people. They have actually, because in Kenya nowadays, you cannot commit crime and get away with it. Those who attacked Parliament are on CCTV. Those who attacked the judiciary are on CCTV. Those who attacked everywhere, those who destroyed people's shops are on CCTV. Many of them are on the run, but we will catch them.
Similarly, Your Excellency.
Similarly, to your question, so the police are at it, because if we don't deal with impunity, we will not have a country.
Now, similarly, Your Excellency, you speak of them protesters being on CCTV.
Not the protesters, I'm saying the criminals who attacked Parliament.
Right. Now, every policeman also, without uniform, conducted an abduction, has also been captured on camera. Those who captured Shad Kiprono were captured on camera. Those who captured Alfred Kiter today were captured on camera. And a number of other such incidents. Similarly, so that because I can hear you balancing.
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, are we going to see action against the killer cops, or were they doing what you're saying you have to do to prevent this from being bad?
Any killer cop who went beyond what is provided for in the law, action will be taken against them. But to your question, are you telling me, Linus, that a police officer becomes only a police officer when they are in uniform? No. Police officers can identify themselves even when they are in civilian. So, and when a police officer comes to you and says, this is my ID, I am police officer, you are under arrest for the following. That is legitimate. You cannot tell me that because they were in civilian, then what they did was wrong.
And you know that's not what they do.
And that's
not what they did to Alfred Katero or Shad Kiprono.
Why?
You have the CCTV footage, it's there.
I would suggest, Linus, that we be fair to the police as well. And I have given you my word. Any police officer who does anything beyond the provisions of the law know the consequences. Just as any citizen who also participates in actions that are outside the law, they also know the consequences. And it is our responsibility to make sure that security agencies act in accordance with the law. As citizens, we act in accordance with the law so that we can have a law-abiding, rules-based, rule of law-based country.
At this time now, Mr. President, are you satisfied with how the police handled this whole matter?
I think the police have done the best they could. If there are any excessive mechanisms to make sure that those excesses are dealt with.
Let's wrap it this way, Your Excellency, on that topic. You have absolutely no regrets about the abductions and no regrets about the killings.
Those are your words. Those are not mine.
They're also your deputy's words.
Don't put words in my
They're also your deputy's words, and it's part of your government, because it's so scary, Mr. President, sitting there and telling the whole country that from this moment on, we should not believe what your deputy tells us about the state of the nation until you speak. Yet we all thought that you're part of the government.
Don't inject my deputy into this conversation. I think it is not fair, since he's not here, to tell you in what context he said whatever he said. I think it is not proper to discuss the deputy president here, and he's my deputy. Please let me deal.
But have you asked him that you had a press conference
with the issues as they are now? I think being personal and going that direction does not help.
This was personal, Mr. President, but it's a really serious national issue. That right after you spoke, your deputy told the whole world that he was informing us that extrajudicial killings and abductions had returned to this government that he is part of. How surely can that be personal, Mr. President?
I am sure that if you interview the deputy president, he will answer that appropriately.
You haven't asked him?
You can take it from me that extrajudicial killing will not be part of an administration that I run. I can say that without
now, yes, in the interest of moving this conversation forward, Your Excellency, I want us to look into the last 2 extraordinary weeks that this country has had. Protests that you called tribeless and some of your aides call leaderless. But protests that are led by young people who are unhappy with how you've run this country for the last just under 2 years now. But the question they have as they look at you and watch as you speak today.
Today, we don't have the luxury to vote because we have reached the limit. And today, let me finish. Today, all the money we borrowed from 2013 is maturing. That is why the biggest challenge that we have as a nation is that we are spending 1.1 trillion every year of taxes we collect from ordinary Kenyans to pay debt, and not the whole debt, interest alone.
Interest principal comes to 1.8 trillion this year.
So, my good friends, and yet you want to tell me, William Ruto, don't collect domestic taxes. Go borrow more money.
No,
That's what I said.
What is the alternative?
Yeah, I just want to come to one.
What is the alternative? Just help me there. Because there are only 2 things you can do. Either you raise money from taxes or you borrow. Period. There is no magic here.
The thing is, Your Excellency, right now, who do not listen to all that.
Yes.
They are not interested in that.
That's okay, but that's the reality.
But
if you are not, if you do not want to listen to
Your Excellency, because I really need to address a very important issue here. And that is one of a trust deficit. There are Kenyans who watch you, Your Excellency, and I don't know whether you are aware that they don't trust what you say. They don't believe what you say. Are you aware, Your Excellency, for example, that a lot of Kenyans increasingly don't associate the truth with you?
That is your assessment because you have never associated the truth with me from the beginning.
Yeah, no, there's quite a number of things.
I mean, that is
we asked people before we came here
the assessment.
and many of those that responded to me directly and to even our platforms, on KTN News, on Spice FM, on NTV, on Citizen, and we're asking them, what question should we ask the president this evening? And one thing that many of them are saying is, when will he stop lying? So,
Can you tell us the truth?
Let me say the following. I told the people of Kenya that I would reduce the prices of fertilizer from 7,000 to 2,500. I don't know how that is a lie because they buy the 2,500.
Okay.
I told the people of Kenya we're going to have a housing program. A housing program is underway in Kenya. I can tell you, Linus, that whether you believe me or not, facts will not change.
Yeah.
Facts are not changed by who says it.
And allow me to step back a bit, Your Excellency.
Facts are very stubborn.
Allow me to step back a bit.
Yes.
And what I'll do is we'll play clips, just a little combination of clips of yourself speaking not too long ago, and I want us to listen to that. I'll stand out of the way because you said it's me that doesn't share the truth with you, and I would like you to respond to yourself, to the clips that we are going to play.
But let's
watch that, Your Excellency.
I think, Linus,
Yeah.
you don't bring clips that are in a biased way. You select maybe something that has not happened. Can you be fair and select clips across the board? What I said and has been done, and what I said and maybe hasn't been done.
And let's watch that. Maybe we can watch that.
These people don't understand the damage they are doing to the people and the economy of Kenya. Kwa hii taxes wanaongeza usiku na mchana. Na mimi nataka niwaulize watu wa hapa Manga, tafadhali, mkiona tunasimama hapa mbele yenu, tunawaambia kwamba tutengeneze hiyo serikali inakuja ambayo inaelewa lugha ya wananchi wa kawaida. If you have good idea, why you need a police? Why you need government? Why you need intimidation? If you have better ideas, send them to the people of Kenya. There are enough intelligent people in Kenya to differentiate what is good from what is better and what is best. Ni jambo mbaya sana kama tutatumia askari polisi kuumiza wananchi wasio na hatia, eti kwa sababu watu wanaogopa polisi wanasiasa.
I agree with that. It is not fair to use the police to harass citizens who have a contrary opinion. And that is perfect. That's what I still believe that.
That's what they're
But you don't tell me that what is the problem with that question? No, it's not a contrary opinion. I mean, the police have said yesterday, it is not because of me. I didn't give any instructions. I didn't even know what was going on. Let me tell you, Linus, I am a very clear-minded person on what I say. When it is the police, I have said, many of the people who opposed me, many of the people who were very scared about what I would do when I become president, even the people who did worse things against me, I have never gone after them because I don't believe in settling political scores using the power of state or using the say the following. When I talked about the taxes that I was addressing in the campaign trail, it was very obvious that when at that time we were in subsidies that did not make sense. It is because because I removed the subsidies and I changed and put production support. That is why today the price of bunga has come down from 240 to 100, because I changed the model, I changed the configuration, and it is giving us results.
But are you aware, Mr. President, that the thing perhaps apart from now the police brutality that people associate you the most is the issue of taxes? I'm sure you know the name they call you. You actually talked about it even yourself.
You know, let me tell you, my good brother, again, when I came into office and I assessed the situation, and it was no longer possible for us to borrow money, I had to be honest with the people of Kenya. I had to tell them we have two options, right? And even as we imposed taxes, we explained, we made sure that there was adequate, elaborate public participation on what it is that we were trying to achieve. And let me tell you the following. I have done the best that I could globally. Today, our country has tremendous respect from many quarters globally because of what I have done. I have raised the profile of our country. Today, I was in Narok, and the tourism numbers in 2022, 1 million tourists. In 2023, last year, 2 million tourists. This year, by God's grace, we will get to 2.7 million tourists because of the profile that I have done for the country. I know somebody will say that that there is no truth in that, but call the tourism sector. They will tell you themselves that all hotels in Kenya today are operating 80% upwards, which is a new phenomenon in Kenya. I will also tell you that the international community have developed enormous confidence in Kenya. I see people who are saying, why did William Ruto go to China? Why did William Ruto go to Europe? Why did William Ruto go to America? Let me just tell you the following. When I went to China, we got money to be able to put equipment in 70 of our technical training colleges. Today, the contract has been signed, the equipment is being manufactured. When I went to China, we got money to build Bostock Dam that has been waiting, that will serve the counties of Bomet and Kericho. When I went to China, we got money to build, we got 30 billion shillings to build roads in Nyandarua, in Kirinyaga, in 8 other constituencies in Kenya. That's why I went to China. When I went to America, we got a $1 billion facility to be built in Naivasha, that is going to be the biggest data center in Africa, funded by UAE, working with Microsoft and Kenya. When I went to the US, we also agreed Kenya became the only country in Africa that is going to benefit from the CHIPS Act, where we will be manufacturing computer chips with other countries. Kenya will be among the first, will be actually the only country in Africa that will benefit from that. And so many of the young people who I see today, those are my targets for the future.
So it doesn't bother you that there's this tag on your head as a president who has overtaxed Kenyans, and that the suffering that we're going through is because of excessive taxation that you have imposed on Kenyans. That is what I was asking about.
You see, if I am called Zakai, yeah, because I have explained to the people of Kenya that the option we have is, if we continue borrowing, we will go down the hill. If that is what is going to take Kenya to be saved from a debt default, I don't mind being called Zakai, because it is a sacrifice worth making.
Mr. President, every morning on Spice FM, we have 4 hours of a talk show. And many times we ask people, even those who come to the show, to tell us what is it that the nation is saying when we are seeing people out on the streets. And many of them, even when we said that we're coming, you have invited us to come and have this conversation this evening, they said, tell the president that he's tone deaf. And we ask why and how. And they say, when William Ruto took over as president, he took over a budget of 3.2 trillion shillings. He went to Parliament and he said, Honorable Speakers, I believe that this budget is too high. We should cut it by 300 billion shillings. So you believed, then 1.5 years ago, that you can run the country with 2.9 trillion shillings. Barely a few months, you went to Parliament and requested to spend 3.6 trillion shillings. This year, you went to Parliament and initially requested to spend 4.2 trillion shillings. And what do they see in return? They see extravagance in government. They see a government that is pushing gung-ho to employ new people called CASs. They see a government that is purchasing new motor vehicles and trips that are extravagant. They see opulence with those that are close to the president appearing in public carrying wads of cash. They see condescending attitude from those who serve in this government when they're asked, why are you spending? And they respond the way they respond. Your advisors speaking the same. And so they see a government where the president is telling people, we are going to live within our means, we are all going to tighten our belts, we have austerity. They end up with their children not going to school because for months JS teachers are on strike. They end up with, right now, 91 days where clinical officers have not been to work. 91 days, Mr. President. We ended up with intern doctors going on strike for weeks because the government says it has no money. We end up with people going to the hospitals and there is no medicine. We end up with people who are being told that we don't have money to pay salaries, or we don't have money to pay salaries and also having development. Yet, they see all this extravagance and opulence from those in power. You are tone deaf, Mr. President, that's what they say.
Well, I guess that's why we must have a conversation. That's why we must have a conversation. And I'm very happy for us to have this conversation so that we can put the facts on the table and we can all of us make a decision. But let me tell you the following. I've listened to you and let me also tell you that today the universities which were almost closed, they had debts of 60 billion shillings. I have enhanced their budget by 40 billion shillings. The universities, because education to me is very important. It is the greatest equalizer. Today, the universities can confirm to you, and I was sitting here with the vice chancellors, that I made the right decision because we are funding the universities better. Let me also tell you, I took the decision to hire additional teachers, 56,000. It has never happened in the history of Kenya. Why? Because education is the greatest equalizer. Many parents in rural Kenya take their children to schools that have no teacher. And we are disadvantaging them. The children of the poor get the worst form of education. They have no chance. I decided, because I said it is bottom up, I decided that I'm going to put more money in making sure the child of every Kenyan has an opportunity to be their best by giving them the correct education. I decided that I am going to put money in farming. The first year I put 10 billion shillings in fertilizer subsidy, a program that had been scrapped for 5 years. The difference is obvious. Today, by God's grace, we have a harvest. The prices of food commodities has come down. Day before yesterday, Latif, there was a release of where we are with inflation. Inflation in Kenya is now 4.6%. When I came into office, it was 9%. Inflation coming from food products. It was reported not by me, by the institutions that I charge, 4.6%. We have, where I have invested money, I can account for it. Right. And it is making a difference in the lives
Their
of
concern is on extravagance in
I will come to
opulence
on opulence and extravagance. Every trip I have made, I have not made any trip outside Kenya to go and do things that are of no benefit to this nation. I can account for every trip that I have made outside our nation, whether it is on projects or programs or investments or even the profiling of this country to put it in good standing for us to attract investment. In fact, the Ruto exchange, which was almost closed, was rated the best in the world. Not said by William Ruto, but it was in the public domain by Bloomberg. If you don't believe me, believe Bloomberg.
Mr. President,
So I have done what I could for the country. Let me finish opulence. Let me go to the opulence. And let me be very clear that the display of insensitivity is a statement that has come to me, and is a sentiment that has come to me. Something very different into the future. Whether it is coming from my staff, whether it is coming from this office. And I know people have raised issues of CAS, for example. I deliberately, even after Parliament had approved the position of CAS, I have not appointed any CAS because I realized that we were in a situation that we could not, and no CIS will be appointed until we have an economy that can support more opportunities. I know citizens have said that there is no need for the office of the First Lady or Second Lady. These are offices that were there. But because we have to live within our means, those offices from tomorrow, this new budget which is starting tomorrow, they will not be part of our equation, because in the face of what has happened, we have to trim down every other area. And in fact, not just those, many other spaces are going to be trimmed down to reflect the new reality, especially after the finance bill was taken down by myself. When I said we take this down, we are going to cut our clothes. We are going to cut our coat, the size of our clothes. We're going to reduce money going to counties. We're going to reduce money going to the judiciary. When I came into office, the judiciary was getting 18 billion. Today, they are getting 25 billion. But it was because I believed in the rule of law. I believed that we needed to do something about making sure that our judiciary has resources, because Kenyans were telling me directly, justice delayed is justice denied. I have hired the highest number of judges under my administration because I believe that Kenyans must deserve justice.
Will you reduce the number of ministers, ministries, or state departments, or advisors?
That is an area we are going to target and cut down, because it is the reality we have to face.
Mr. President, when things like this happen elsewhere, this is a whole finance bill that's been taken down.
Correct.
You have people who have been advising you on financial matters. You have people who have been advising you on political matters, listening to the people. You have advisors who have talked down at Kenyans, who have called them spoiled kids, KFC, and whatnot. And you have people who have been around you talking into your ear with regard to some of ventured to actually say that this amounted to a vote of no confidence is there going to be some kind of shake-up that actually acknowledges that this is not where we should have been, and therefore, I am sorry, Kenyans, and this is what I'm doing about it? Because short of that, how are we to know that we will not find more of the same?
Watch this space.
There are those who have said now that clearly there are many people who have lost confidence in Parliament. There are those who have lost confidence in you. That maybe the way to regain the legitimacy is to go for an election.
There is no provision. You know, we are a country of the rule of law. Yeah. We must, whatever it is that we do, we must keep it within the parameters of the rule of law. And we cannot take what has happened over the last 2 weeks or thereabout and say we are going to abrogate our constitution. I think we will be going towards anarchy. And I don't think that is where we want to take our country. There is a demand on me as president, and I have said, because of where we are, because of what has happened, there is going to be a thorough cut down on many things, whether we are talking about allowances, maybe even we should have a conversation around salary. We had a meeting here with MPs, and even then they are persuaded maybe it is time to ban Harambes so that we remove avenues of people like this demonstration of, opulence. And I want to tell you that I am going to take action. I am going to work on this. I know what we should do, but I am also not going to be reckless and take the country into a crisis. I will make sure that I act responsibly and listening to what the people of Kenya are saying.
I don't know if this will preempt you, Your Excellency, but one of the most serious concerns that have been coming out, including in the Gen Z demonstrations, is the question of corruption. And right through this interview, you've not mentioned the word. And even as you go into that, I want to give you two illustrations. Kenyans dealt with or encountered the problem of fake fertilizers, and you never took action against your cabinet secretary for agriculture. Before that, we had the scandal around the importation of edible oil. We don't know where edible oil is to date. I don't think it ever found itself to the market. Again, there is a cabinet secretary in that ministry. And also, what goes into the market was condemned sugar. And when we look at all the information around these three cases, these are people close to you. They're cabinet secretaries. And so, you are unable to take action against them. So, why should you be trusted now to act? Because there are those who read and say you are really a hostage of those who campaigned for you to become president. They get away with anything.
Three things, Linus. We hadn't reached the question of corruption. So don't unfairly accuse me that I have not spoken to it. I am ready to speak about it. So that's number one. Number two, I fired the CEO of KEPS when the sugar thing came up. Number two, on fake fertilizer, the minister, Mithika Linturi, was taken through a process in Parliament. The CEO of National Cereals Board, the General Manager of National Cereals Board, and other 7 members of staff are in court as I talk to you. the people who signed the contract. They are in court.
You spare big fish and roast the small fish.
Let me just finish.
Yeah.
Because I need Linus, I am a fair person, and I am a believer in the rule of law. Even though I may not like you, but I must respect that there is a due process. The moment, we will have a minister who is charged in court, meaning there is evidence that they have participated in crime. Believe you me, I will take the action that is necessary. But if somebody is taken through a process and that process comes out without an indictment, I mean, surely we must give somebody the benefit of doubt until it is proven. And the fact that the CEO, general manager, and all the people that were there who actually evidence was found have been arraigned in court. Isn't that a step in the right direction?
What a political responsibility. What a political responsibility.
Let me finish. And then number 3, the other one you asked me was edible oil. The people who are involved in edible oil, I fired them, and they are in court. We have a new management in Kenya National Trading Corporation. In fact, we've just hired a new management for the Kenya National Trading Corporation. So those are actions that I have taken. And for my information,
what Joe is calling political responsibility.
Yeah.
But you see, gentlemen, if there is no evidence against a minister, surely, do you want me to fire somebody if there is no evidence? There was a time, Uhuru Kenyatta, as I served him as his deputy, removed 6 cabinet secretaries. But eventually, they were found that they were innocent, and we had to appoint them to be ambassadors. So some of these, actions must be tampered with process of law, due process. So unless we follow due process, gentlemen, we will end up being something else.
After this, just a moment, Eric, in a moment, because up to this point, Your Excellency, if I don't want us to lose the context, the last 2 weeks have been extraordinary. We've never seen anything like this. You have KDF troops in the streets of Nairobi. Up to this point, Your Excellency, and including on the question that I've just asked you of accountability within your government, do you think you are addressing the grievances that have made thousands of Kenyans across the country in places that were unimaginable to get out to the streets to say Ruto must go? Do you think up to this point they feel you've addressed their grievances?
I am not in their space, so I am doing what I believe I should be doing. I have taken the responsibility to withdraw the finance bill with all the attendant consequences. That I have done. I know what it means, and I know where it takes the country, and it is not a simple decision for me to make. And for your information, the finance bill was going to take Kenya big steps forward. But it's a sacrifice I've had to make because of the political reality that we are in. But it will mean counties will have to take maybe 30 billion shillings off their budget. It means we have to reduce CDF by maybe 10 billion shillings. It means we have to rethink about what to do with JSS teachers. It means we have to put on the freezer. We wanted to hire another 20,000 teachers because there are kids who do not have teachers. It means we have to work on our UHC program. We thought we would upgrade, for example, Linda Mama.
Yeah.
You know, we thought we would upgrade Linda Mama.
Something like
it means we have to hold that, and it means many things.
Just so that what else do you want to hear? You're speaking outward, but looking at the grievances, they're also asking questions inward from you, Your Excellency. And what I can hear from these grievances that have been expressed quite loudly, you said you're not in their spaces. We sometimes get into the spaces to listen to what they're saying. And all they're saying is, you cannot be, for the next 3 years, the president that you've been for the last 2. So what is that you're going to change about?
That's why Linus. That's why we are here. Of course, it's not going to be business as usual. With the kind of reality we are faced with now, it has to be different.
Do you regret anything at all? What you should have done better? What your people would have done better?
Well, maybe there are things we should have done better. We should have communicated better. I think the biggest problem we have, even with the finance bill, because the finance bill has great things for Kenya. The finance bill says we shouldn't be importing potatoes from Europe. The finance bill says we shouldn't be importing onions or eggs from Europe. The finance bill says we should be growing our own industries. We should be manufacturing diapers in Kenya. We have 10 companies doing that. We should be manufacturing all those things in Kenya. We should be expanding our manufacturing capacity. That is what finance bill was talking to. But I am sure we will recover that when we have explained.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge that I regret is that we didn't communicate better. Maybe we failed in explaining to Kenyans what the finance bill was all about. Because I promise you, if I am given a chance to explain to the people of Kenya what was in the finance bill and what the finance would have done for this country, every Kenyan would have agreed with me. But it's just my regret is that
you were here, Mr. President. They said you would have explained.
We didn't explain ourselves better. Maybe my communication team failed. Maybe I'm sure my communication team failed. Our communication architecture did not deliver, did not get the message out to the people of Kenya.
Yeah.
In fact, if you look at what people were saying, they were saying, for example, there is a matter of land on the finance bill. There was no matter of land in the finance bill, not even a single line. And it is on that basis that people rejected the finance bill, and many other things that were not in the finance bill.
Now, communication is about words, Mr. President. Let's go to the deeds. Because when we see what Gen Zs are doing, for the first time in the history of this country, we've had protests on the altar of the Holy Family Basilica. Because the young people of this country are telling you the political culture, which you've been part of having politicians speak in church, converting the platforms into, converting the pulpit into campaign platforms, must end. So I'm not hearing you addressing and looking more inward into this whole picture that the Gen Z is painting. They're not just talking about some of those things that you're raising.
On that, Linus, I have even had an occasion to speak to church leaders here. On that, on matters of politics on the pulpit, I am 100% aligned. We shouldn't be using pulpits in churches or in any other places of worship to prosecute politics. It is not right. And I agree, we need to change that culture. We need to change the culture of Harambee. Harambee started as a noble